When it comes to the economy, nearly everyone has an opinion, from those on the front lines to those on the protest lines. And while Canada famously weathered the storms of the global economic crisis, according to Prime Minister Stephen Harper, there are still some waves ahead.
We all realize that the world economy, the world economic recovery is fragile. We all realize that there are many risks going forward to that recovery.
Navigating it all is the task of the G20, a group of nations that's heavily invested in working together to solve these problems. But hosting these sort of summits takes a lot of investment, and it's not that fake lake we're talking about. Some say it's not worth it.
And pick up
political strategist Karl Rove made his way to Toronto recently for a parallel G20 summit on faith and business and gave his 2 cents.
The G20 exists, and because it exists, it becomes a, if you will, a gathering point for protest, some of which has little to do with what's actually going on at the G20.
The reality is most people won't be discussing issues like the bank tax or trade. If anything, they're talking about the billion-dollar security blanket covering the city.
One that came in full force when what started as a peaceful demonstration turned into violence and mayhem. So just what are they protesting? And is there another way to get your voice heard beyond the barricades? These youth think so. They're part of a Christian advocacy group called the Micah Challenge.
We just want to try and live up to what we say we believe.
They believe God's heart is for the poor and his command to seek justice for them. But you won't find any weapons or even cynicism among them.
I came here and not knowing what to expect, and I still don't know what to expect, knowing that I don't know much, I am not in the room with them. I don't know what's being talked about. I don't know what's being discussed.
That we're here and we need to get our voices heard for the poor, to be a voice to the voiceless.
And that's why they're taking to the street, along with other groups demanding to be heard by the G20 leaders.
So do you think you guys are being seen and heard?
I think it's a still small voice.
You may not hear that one a lot today.
That's why we're here.
While they are peaceful and mild, they're adamant about one thing: keeping leaders accountable for their words and deeds. And so it seems are the leaders.
I don't think you will again see leaders go out and make pledges that they don't intend to keep or that they really haven't thought about very thoroughly.
Trade Minister Peter Van Loan coined the G20 the Accountability Summit.
We need to ensure that countries are maintaining their commitments, holding them accountable for that, and then updating those commitments. For example, on the fiscal side, as we exit stimulus, we also have to make sure that countries deal with their balance sheets so that they don't have too highly leveraged debt situations, that they aren't too deep in deficit, so that we don't start seeing the sovereign debt crises, and we manage that challenge, because all of those will put at risk our economic recovery across the world.
Concerns many no doubt share. But is the economy just about balance sheets? Or is there more to accountability? Rove says the economy affects us all, and how we operate in it says a lot about our values.
I think it's very important to look at the economy not simply as a question of efficiency. I do think market economies are more efficient at allocating resources, but I think there's a huge moral dimension to our economy, which is why if you do things like borrow from the future and place at risk the prosperity of a nation or the soundness of its currency, in essence, those are moral issues.
According to Robyn Bright of Micah Challenge Canada, we're all accountable for what's going on in our world.
Good news is a church that's mobilized, is a church that says we're going to bring Jesus' hands and feet. We're going to be a voice with our governments, and we're going to be the people that help to sort of respond on some of these issues.
With all the commitments made at this year's G20, they hope it truly will live up to its name as the Accountability Summit.
Accountability is for us to talk to our world leaders and say, guess what? 5 years ago, 10 years ago, we still remember what you said.
Accountability involves having people surround you in support, and that's what we want to do. We want to support them in making the right decisions.
Can imagine how stressful that has to be, just to have so many people criticizing what you do as a world leader, but to have people around like encouraging you, like encouragement, and then expecting, like, you said you're going to do this, and so we haven't forgotten, like, do what you said. That's accountability to me.
In Toronto, Denise, Lodde, 100 Huntley Street.